Hello Mina lovers, we are in April and we are well under the way of spring, good times, warmer weather and the sun hitting our skin. So that means there are some jobs to be doing around our houseplants. First thing I'm going to do is sort out this really sad Skindapsis Moonlight tribute. It desperately needs a repot. As you can see, its newer growth is starting to go tiny, which means this guy is root bounded as hell and we need to repot him. First thing we are going to need to do is get this Moonlight tribute out of this pot. It's probably been in this pot for at least 2 years, which is really bad for me. I haven't touched it for such a long time. And yes, there we go. As you can see, this is really root bounded. It is more roots than soil at this point. I should probably be scolding myself for letting my plant get to this stage. However, we're gonna fix it and we are just gonna tease out some of these roots a little bit like this. Doing this will stimulate the plant to get new growth, and we also wanna give the roots a bit of a breather from being stuck together like that. So just teasing it, making it a little bit more malleable, and now it's ready for a new pot. We are going to give this plant the upgrade of a lifetime in this new pot. It's probably a little bit bigger than you would necessarily need to size up to, but repotting is my least favorite task to do. So I like to put them in a little bit of a bigger pot so I don't need to repot them as often. Let's put this in this new pot there, like so. And with the new soil, he can go in. I'm just pushing down with my fingers spread out into the soil, pushing this plant into the pot so it becomes stable with the new soil, because the last thing we want is our plant to be wobbling around and loose. And repotting plants is as simple as that and as easy as that. I don't know why it's my least favorite task. I think it's because it causes the most mess and the most cleanup afterwards. So I do tend to leave them a bit too long, and this poor plant is a really good example of my forgetfulness and my bad plant parenting. However, he's in a nice new pot now. I'm going to give this guy a really good soak in the new soil, and then he can go back on my little planty shelf. If you own any cacti or succulents, it is now time to wake them up from their winter slumber. Now this is all apart from lithops at the moment, but they need their first drink of the new year. A good sign that your cactus or succulent is waking up is actually visible new growth on the plant. I can see some little bud coming up on this cactus, so I want to give them a really good drink. And now they're really slow drinkers, so the best thing to do is to pop them in a bowl in your sink and leave them in the bowl overnight to drink up as much water as they can. They will store this in their flesh and you won't need to water it again for a little while. So I have added a little bit of seaweed fertilizer into my water to give it a bit of a kickstart for the new growing season. And I'm just gonna fill up my bowl like this with my cactus in it, and I'm just gonna leave him to the side to drink up all of the water that he wants. And when he's done, I'll let it drain off and pop him back in the bright sunny sun in my windowsill. Thankfully in the UK, the weather is starting to warm up, and that means our houseplanty pests are starting to wake up and feel the terror in their veins to come and terrorize our plants. We need to start being on our A game with pest checking over our plants regularly to make sure we are keeping on top of pests this year. When checking over your plants is to start with the newer growth and looking at any of your new growth points, if they're covered in aphids, if the new leaves have thrips on them, inspecting all of the other leaves as well. You really want to look in between each crevice, and very importantly, this point of your plant here is where a lot of pests really love to hide. One way I like to keep on top of my pest control is by every month receiving these little packets with predatory mites in. I have it on a subscription basis, so I don't forget to order them, which is a godsend. So when I receive these, I can swap out the old packets for the new ones. This will just give my houseplants a constant supply of an army of predatory mites to keep the house pesty down. Touch wood. This has been a lifesaver for me for the last 2 years in keeping thrips specifically down and off my plants. When you have your new packets, it's good to put them closer to the new growth. Sometimes if your plant is really fine, putting them on the new growth will make them bend because it's not heavy, but it's heavy to your little plant. So it's good to put it close to the new growth, as that's where the most of your pests will be. Once you have them, you can put them on your plant and let your predatory mites do the job for you. As we are now approaching the prime growing season for our plants with this lovely warmer weather, it is a good time to start giving your plants regular feeding. It isn't necessary, you don't have to fertilize your plants, but if you really endeavor for your plant to grow so much growth or maybe big leaves, giving them a feed can just help them along the way with this. When I fertilize my plants, I really like to use a seaweed-based fertilizer, as this is full of nitrogen. Nitrogen is really good for the leafier aspect of your plant. It's also full of potassium and other little bits, but seaweed fertilizer is key for plants that are more of a leaf than a flowering plant. When I fill up my watering can, if I've already watered my plants, I tend to just do a little shot glass of seaweed fertilizer, as you say. If I have already watered my plants, I will just give them a little bit of a top up, like a shot of this fertilizer, to give them that extra boost that they need to grow a really nice, happy and healthy new leaves throughout this growing season. Sometimes you may find that your plant has gathered some dust over the time. It is a good idea to clean all of this dust off, because if our plants have dusty leaves, then these plants can't photosynthesize and grow properly. So I like to grab myself some horticultural soap, pop that in a bowl and add some water to make a horticultural soapy water. And with a microfiber cloth or some kitchen towel or a clean tea towel, I'm just gonna go ahead and dip some of this in my soapy water. And then I'm gonna just clean the leaves. I know this task sounds and definitely looks impractical, but I promise you, your plants will benefit from a little bit of a spring clean of their leaves, removing some of that dust. This could be a reason why your plants might not be growing well enough, because they're covered in dust and they can't take in that sunlight to photosynthesize and create food. So making sure we can dust our plants every now and then is a really important job. And not to mention, it's quite a relaxing task. So that is some planty chores that we can do for April to keep our plants happy and healthy for this warmer weather. If you want to catch up on my latest allotment video, then you can see it right there. And I'll see you there, me lovers. Bye!